You know what, being world champion, like, it's something that only this morning, waking up really early, with jet lag and struggling, I was just sat on the couch, and it's the first time I've sort of been able to sit with no one around me, with no noise, and yeah, it's the first time I've been able to reflect on the last couple of days, what's happened, and it's something, it's massive, isn't it? Like, becoming a world champion, it's not something, a lot of athletes don't even get to that point in their career. And, to be able to do that a couple of days ago, after 15 years of graft within this sport, it's something I'm so incredibly proud of, so incredibly proud to do that, for myself and my family, for my country. And yeah, I'm really happy, and it has been overwhelming, but yeah, it's starting to come into context about, what we've done and how we've done it as well. So yeah, just I think, to sum it up in a word, just really happy. It's been a little bit of a running joke. I've always been a bit of a silver medal guy, just there or thereabouts, and I've got a silver at the World Championships, European Championships, and then the Paralympic Games last year. And to go that one step further, it's something that obviously every athlete wants to do. And, for me, it has been a struggle because of the amount of times that I've been that nearly guy. And I started to think, it was only sort of 6 weeks ago, I was talking to my partner, and I said to Leah, I was like, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. And I don't know if I want to do another 3 years and just to come out with the same result. I was like, I don't think I'm going to be able to beat that guy, the guy who won the Paralympic Games. And Leah went, how many times did you say that about the French guy who you ended up having to beat in the semi-final at the games last year? And I was like, and she was like, you're only not talking to me now because you know I'm right. And, she was so right. And it's sort of having that little reframe and that, change of mindset is really what has got me in a position where I just, this week I spoke to my coach, John Z, and I spoke to Chris Barry, on analysis, and I just said, what, my biggest thing is I need to stop giving these guys like the respect. I need to go out there and put myself on top of that podium instead of, falling and just falling short. And, it's one thing going into that final the other day, for me, it was very much like, right, I deserve to be here. I'm going to go and grab it and have my chance. And, it's we put all of those things in place to allow me to do that. And obviously that was the plan that came off. I think so. Like when the draw first came out, I was seeded at world number 4. I've only had one Grand Prix since coming back after Paris, which I ended up getting a bronze last month in Georgia. I do back, my fitness, I back my strength, but also moving up a weight category. There's these guys who are bigger, bigger and as strong as me. I'll never say stronger. I don't believe that, but for me, I was given away at least 5 kilos. I weighed in at just over 5 kilos underweight. So, for me, it was a little bit of, what do we need to do to make sure that doesn't become an issue? For me, I know I've got world class movement. I know, my movement, my Newaza, is things that I can always fall back on and go, I know I'm solid at that. And it was those things really falling back on those super strengths to make sure, the belief stays, whoever's put in front of you. So, for me, when the draw came out, I worked it all out mentally to know how I'm going to beat the guys who are going to get put in front of me and how I'm going to try and win that final. And it was the expertise of, the coaching team that was out with us that made me put me in the right position, put me in the most solid position to win that final. We sat there and we had a meeting before we went into that match, which is something we haven't done before as well. And the guys went, they watched my performances against the Brazilian when I've fought him, before, and this guy's beat me 6 times in a row. So, them guys sat down and they found the best bits that I had in those contests. And for them to find that and then basically translate that to what I need to do. And then it was down to me then just to implement that. That was the final piece of the puzzle. And it came off the mat, and one of the things Johnsy did say to me, just that that is how you follow instructions, that's how you do it. And it is tough to implement a plan. Physically that's really tough, but with all the way that everything was prepared, from the work that we've done, in over here in Britain, the preparation, and then getting over there, and even the preparation in the warm up I did with Evan and Chris Barry, it was the best thing that got me on that mat and got me that gold medal. You know what? I had this little moment early this morning, as I say. I woke up really early this morning, and I got a bit of time, a bit of quiet, sat on my own on the couch having a coffee, and I went on being able to change me Instagram profile, and it's no longer just world, European, Paralympic medalist. It's world champion, and those things. It's a title. It's something that I've never had before. I've never been able to get to that point where I've took a title, and now it's time to make the set. That's the next thing. European champion, Paralympic champion. Why not? It just seems like the best thing, the most progressive thing to do. You know what? It's been amazing, the support that I've had, because people know how much this means to me. I am quite sort of blasé, and I am relatively humble when it comes to talking about like my achievements. I don't particularly talk about my achievements that much on the mat, because it's just one little cog when it comes to my life and the inner workings of that. But the people who are down at the gym, I got off the plane yesterday around midday, and I was in work for 3 o'clock. So it was those people just appreciate the fact that I literally won a world championship like less than 24 hours beforehand, and then I'm back in work, and some people think I'm mad. Other people just appreciate it, and the actual support. My dad's been on the phone. He's absolutely buzzing for me as well. My little boy, I got to speak to my little boy in the evening after winning my medal, and he genuinely believes I'm a superhero. It's absolutely crazy, but I'm there. I show them my medal, and Chris Barry's next to me, and he goes, your dad's a superhero, and he goes, did you save America? And he thinks that I'm away in different countries, sort of saving the planet, which it's cute and naive, but it's amazing to be able to be that inspiration as well for your own lad. And as I say, he started his judo journey now, and hopefully one day he can try and beat whatever I'm doing. And yeah, fingers crossed. It might run in the family just like it has with my dad. In like me pre World Championships interview, I have had some injuries running into this. I got quite a bad elbow injury. I had a scan and realised I've got 2 slip discs in my back, and I also just the 6 days before we were flying out, I was in hospital on a drip and on antibiotics, because I had a real bad stomach issue, which is ongoing. So all of those things, I did have the support, in the medical team, Preki while we were out there, and Jacob running up to the event, and Joe, through British Judo, have massively got me just about in the right place, stuck back together to get the best performance out of me. So as I say, it's certainly not been a straight line, this preparation. So to be able to go and do what I did, being not 100%, it just shows as well, all those years and the experiences that I've had, it does go a really long way as well. It's part of it, those building blocks that help you, even when you're not 100%, you still get to pull that performance out and do what you do. To me, Johnsy he is a great coach, but to me, he's the best manager. For me, he manages, a lot of my moving parts, be it an injury, be it something that happens in work or with me boy, or, he really does help me off the mat. So, with those things in mind, yeah, it makes me get the best performance and the best version of me on the mat. So yeah, that's I've got to be really thankful for that as well. One thing, like one thing I do, I've mentioned there about being thankful, but the thing around National Lottery and the UK sport supporting us to do what we do. We couldn't do what we do. We don't just find ourselves being world champions. It's all the time and the effort from the staff and the support that we receive that helps us do what we do. So there's so many people who are a part of me real close knit team that they already know. They take a portion of the medals and the titles that I get. But also the entire the bigger team, the bigger picture. So from National Lottery and UK Sport, thank you so much for supporting us and doing what you do.